All right, guys, today we're going to be talking about how I tricked my brain to do hard things. This is a topic that I'm very, very curious about and interested in, okay? Because I think as humans, we know what's a good thing to do for our lives, but then sometimes we don't do it, which is very interesting, right? So think about somebody that's very overweight. They know they shouldn't eat a dessert, right? They know it, but they eat it. Interesting. What's hard is not to eat that dessert if you're in that situation, right? So I want to talk about how I trick my brain to do things that I didn't necessarily want to do, okay? So let me start with this. I first started training my brain with this when I went to my first Tony Robbins seminar called Unleash the Power Within, okay? And in this seminar, on the first night, every single person at the seminar, so we're talking about, I think there was like 12,000 people at the seminar, okay? It filled up the San Jose arena. 15,000, I don't know how many were there. Every single person that first night, he makes you walk on fire, okay? So you go outside of the arena in the parking lot. They have it set up with, dozens of their, employees and their workers there. I was terrified. So he kind of like amps you up and gives you that mindset to do it, during the seminar. And then late night, about 2 a.m, when that seminar is done for that day, everyone goes outside in a line, and there's 9, I think it was more than 9, maybe like 15 different lines of charcoal and fire, okay? Just imagine that. It's not like blazing fire, like when a building lights on fire, but it's charcoals that are on fire, okay? And you have to walk across it. The walk takes about like 10 seconds, I want to say. So you're like 5 or 6 steps to get across the whole thing. And I was just like, woo, every bone in my body did not want to do that. None of me wanted to do that. And I was just like, oh man. I was like, is everyone really gonna do this? This is crazy. Like, what if my foot burns? Like, I'm looking at these things and they're literally like, it's like walking on like a barbecue. Like there's you can see the fire and it's all charcoal. It's like, just like, oh my God, what the hell is going on? So at the end of it, what happens is like, so you do your walk. It's like a 10-second walk, like I said. It's like 5 or 6 steps. At the end of it, they have an employee that like hoses down your feet just in case like your feet actually catch on fire, or if you have any burns or whatever. And before we went out there, Tony Robbins did mention, he said, he's been doing it for like 15 years or something, this fire walk, they call it. And there's only been like a few cases of people that have actually gotten really hurt and, burned themselves or whatever. Out of like, hundreds of thousands of people. It's like, all right, no problem. So right before, it's like, you're looking at it and you're just like, every bone in your body is going to tell you like, this is not a good idea, But then, like I said, there's a person waiting for you at the end to hose down your feet. And then there's the guy on this side before you go on, kind of pumping you up. Yeah, let's go. You got this. And then they're really like have it down, And so you just can't say no. You kind of just have to go for it. You can't really say no at that point. You're just like, oh, I'm here. I have to go for it. And that was the first moment where I started training my brain to do things that were hard and do things that I didn't necessarily want to do. So the impulse inside you, everything is saying no. But you know that this is a hard thing, but a good thing That's the important part. You know this is a hard thing, but also a good thing, right? And then you ignore that impulse and you do it. That's how you start training your brain to do hard things, is ignoring that resistance that's inside you. Another one is something I always talk about on this channel. I've talked about it many times, is when I first wanted to get better at public speaking. I had a lot of anxiety around public speaking and things like that. I hired a public speaking coach on Skype, and on our last lesson, I took 5 lessons with this guy. On our last lesson, he told me, you need to take an improv class, because what's going to happen is when you take an improv class is like you're going to associate public speaking with fun instead of like this dread. And as soon as you said that, I was like, I don't know if I can do that. That sounds like the most terrifying thing I've ever heard in my life at that time. And I remember he's like, listen, he's like, every bone in your body is going to want to not do it. He's like, you got to, resist. I mean, he's like, you got to stop resisting that, right? And I'd already learned this muscle at the Tony Robbins seminar. So like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to find an improv class. I'm going to sign up and I'm going to go. So as I'm even looking for the improv class I'm going to sign up, my heart is already kind of racing. I'm feeling a lot of anxiety. This was now, I want to say like 6 or 7 years ago. I don't really remember. Yeah, maybe 7 years ago. My heart is racing and I'm just like, whew, okay, I'm just going to sign up. I'm just going to do it. And I signed up and the class wasn't starting for a couple weeks. And that couple weeks, every single night, I went to sleep with dread in my mind, in my body, in my brain, everywhere. I was dreading it every second. Like I would be playing poker, working, and then all of a sudden I would think about, oh my God, that class is coming up in 10 days. It would be like a flood of anxiety and just dread just taking over my soul, right? Yeah, so that's how I felt in that time. And I remember the day of the first class came, I literally couldn't sleep the night before, the 2 or 3 nights before. I literally was just having 3 or 4 hours of sleep because I kept kind of half-ass sleeping. When you sleep, because my rig, I didn't have my rig at the time, but when you sleep and you think you're awake, but maybe you slept, but you're not sure. Those were the kind of on and off sleeps I was having. And I kept waking up throughout the night and I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. I went to my first class and I was like, it was hard. The first, I want to say the first 6 months was just brutal for me because I was just dreading all of it. Not only on class day, the whole week before everything. I was just dreading all of it. But this is the way you train your brain to do hard things, is that you ignore those resistances in your body where your whole soul is like, I can't do this, right? I can't. But then you do it. Right? So that's where I started training myself to do hard things. And then eventually, in poker, I did a very hard thing is I started, for those of you who know my background, I used to play heads up hyper turbo sitting goes. And during one of the worst times I could have chose, I started battling all the regs at 1K, and we're talking about a lot of bots. We're talking about, there was 13 people at that time. I was playing everybody. And that was what I was training myself to do every single day, where every single day you have this resistance. I don't want to lose money playing all these, great players. Some of them are probably bots, whatever. I was just doing it anyways. And eventually that ended up paying off for me as I did enter into, the 1K group. But these are just examples of things that I've done in my life. There's a lot more. I won't get into everything here in this video that I've trained myself to do. But really, that's what it comes down to. No matter what your brain and your body is telling you, if you know this is a right thing, and if you know this is a good thing, then you need to do it. As much as it scares you, it might terrify you. It might absolutely terrify you. But this is how you train your brain to do hard things, right? And that comes with even like studying, GTO, going back to poker, like studying GTO and solvers or things like that, right? Doing that for long stretches of time is hard. It's hard on your brain. It's hard to stay focused. It's just difficult. But you just do it. 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 And eventually what will happen is, I do want to say something on that point though. I actually do want to say something on that point. You don't want to get to a point where you're just way overwhelming yourself, okay? Where it's like you're going like way too much, right? Because there's a certain thing called de-stress. De-stress is when you're feeling so much stress and anxiety that it's unbearable. That's not where you want to go, because that when you went too far. There's de-stress, that's what it's called, D-I stress, and then eustress, E-U stress. Eustress is when you incrementally are doing things that are overwhelming the shit out of you, let's call it. And then de-stress is like, for example, if you've never public speaking before, all of a sudden, somebody's like, here's the microphone, go in front of 20,000 people and give a speech. That's de-stress. That's taking it too far. Because if you do that, you're just gonna freeze up and you're probably gonna have a heart attack. I don't know. It's not gonna be good. Eustress is when you do it slowly. When you slowly, incrementally are doing harder and harder things, okay? You slowly, incrementally do hard things, then a little bit harder, then a little bit harder, then a little bit harder, but you're always pushing, right? That's the point. De-stress is if you go from 0 to 100. That's de-stress. You go from literal 0 to 100, and it's just unbearable, and you're just like, I can't, I'm dying, then you have like a whole fight or flight response. You don't want to get to that point, but I encourage you guys, do hard things, because when you do hard things, that's how you grow as a human being. All right, that's how you grow your personality. That's how you grow just every aspect of life. It's like, it's hard to go to the gym and lift very heavy weights. That's why not many people, are big and have muscles, because it's hard, right? It's just hard. But you got to train yourself to do those hard things. Like I said, if the outcome of that hard thing is worth it to you, you've got to train yourself to do those hard things. And how you do that is not by waiting until you feel good about it. It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. You're never going to feel good about starting to do a hard thing. That day is not coming, right? It's just like you just have to basically ignore all the feelings in your body at that point. Every bone in your body, like I said, you're going to have to basically feel it, feel all that fear and anxiety, but push forward and do it anyways. That's really what it comes down to. And like everything, it's always easier said than done. But once you do it, and once you get into the habit of doing it, it feels so good to know that you can do hard and difficult things. It's just such a good feeling. It's excellent for your self-esteem. And it's just, like I said, it just feels good after a while. But you're gonna have to go through that shit for quite some time, while you're doing these hard things and getting incrementally better at doing these hard things. So subscribe to the video, subscribe to my channel, like the video, and comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.